As the verdict approaches for Darren Wilson, the Ferguson, Missouri police officer who shot and killed 18-year-old Michael Brown, the city continues to protest what they argue to be an unfair, trigger-happy police force and a war zone reaction to civilian protests. Unfortunately, this is far from the first time we've heard this story in America. Los Angeles, 1991. Rodney King, a 25-year-old black man, refuses to pull over after he's flagged for speeding. After a high-speed chase, 4 police officers surround him and severely beat him. Security footage sparks mass public outrage. Despite that, all 4 officers are acquitted of excessive force charges, and residents riot in South Central LA, causing millions of dollars in damage, thousands of injuries, and 53 deaths. New York, 2006. Sean Bell is drunk at his bachelor party. After an altercation outside a nightclub is misinterpreted by police, Bell and 2 friends are shot 50 times, killing Bell and severely injuring the others.
Oh, Sean Bell, NYPD,
Mass protests follow, and despite outcry, all officers tried for the shooting are acquitted. San Francisco, 2009. Oscar Grant is involved in a drunk scuffle on a BART train late on New Year's night. Police respond and detain Grant and several friends. An unarmed Grant resists his subduer, despite being kept prone. An officer on the scene shoots him in the back, in front of dozens of witnesses, some of whom are videotaping the incident. Grant dies in the hospital a few hours later. The community immediately galvanizes to demonstrate against the police's conduct. The officer serves 2 years in prison and is now out on parole. The events inspire the 2013 film Fruitvale Station. Sanford, Florida, 2012. 17-year-old Trayvon Martin is walking home from a convenience store. Neighborhood watch coordinator George Zimmerman believes Martin looks suspicious. After he calls the police, Zimmerman approaches Martin. The two struggle, and Zimmerman fatally shoots and kills the unarmed teenager. Protests spread across the country, with figures like Al Sharpton and President Obama lending their voices in disdain for Florida's Stand Your Ground laws, which to this date have not been changed.
I just ask people to consider, if Trayvon Martin was of age and armed, could he have stood his ground on that sidewalk?
Ferguson, Missouri, 2014. Michael Brown and a friend are walking in the middle of the street. Officer Darren Wilson orders Brown and his friend off the street. A struggle ensues through the officer's truck's window, and a gunshot sends Brown running. Wilson pursues and shoots Brown 6 times. Protests, both violent and peaceful, erupt in Ferguson. Eventually, police deploy in military fashion, using non-lethal beanbag rounds to control protests and injuring several children in the process. Federal and state governments decide to take a second look at the over-militarization of police. Brown's death and the resulting chaos in Ferguson are milestones in the momentum these cases have gained. Outcry is louder on both sides, and while the government pledges to consider reform to police policy and state law, it seems like these stories have become depressingly predictable.
If a white male teen was involved in the same kind of scenario, that from top to bottom, both the outcome and the aftermath might have been different.
How many more times can the country withstand a tragic shooting, a muddy trial, and the resulting chaos?
And the unarmed black man, this phrase that has been used by the media so many times that I myself have used, friends and family have used. Understanding, I started the conversation that before I left the house, I changed totally what I was going to wear from head to toe. And whether we realize it or not, there are images that different cultures depict, that the media has created a scenario. There are images that we see that we immediately think of something else. I was sharing with everybody that walking here today, I knew that I would get different responses. Because not only do I have all the black on, I got my afro happening, I have my mask, Black Lives Matter. And so I got a couple of horn blows. Yes, sister! I mean, I used to get the horn blowing, you know what I'm saying? And people that were staring. One lady, her mouth just hung open. And so I ask you to observe what thoughts come up for you. What does this image depict? And especially with black men, you know, the pictures that they show of black men, anytime a black man has been arrested for anything, I feel like they find the absolute worst picture that's possible, and they show it. And so when you hear the phrase unarmed black man, it actually does the opposite. It creates this scenario where we think all black men or black people are criminals or have dabbled in criminal activity. And so not only is it unarmed black man, but then the next step is that we have to justify the type of character that the man is.